So, do you feel like you're moving, but you aren't going anywhere? Kind of like I'm on this treadmill right now and I'm moving, but I don't seem to be making any progress forward. But am I? I guess it goes upon representation of how you look at things. But taking that into perspective, we're going to talk about life and movement and what you're doing to move forward. You know, I think it's super important, and I don't know if a lot of people are really paying attention to this daily. But to move forward isn't just movement, but it's a mental ability. It's the presence of doing something beyond what you've already been doing. And I preface this by saying that education is important. And I'm not talking about the school education system. Um, I have my own thoughts and feelings on that, just as my man Myron Golden does. But what I'm talking about is learning. Like, what are you bringing into your life that's going to help you get to where you want to be? What books are you reading? What activities are you doing? See, I think what happens sometimes is we get so caught up in the aspect of just surviving, just going through the day, getting through the day so you can go to bed and wake up and do the next thing tomorrow. Just kind of spinning wheels. So, my challenge would be to those that are feeling like that is, what are you doing to grow? What are you learning? What book are you reading? What exercises are you doing? What just what are you taking in that's not normally a part of your day? And I think if you can do that, you'll start to see the possibilities open up. You'll start seeing new avenues in life that you never, well, maybe you saw them before, but or maybe you're just seeing them for the first time. And when I say before, what I went this meeting was, maybe it's something you saw, but you just didn't think it was attainable. So here, I got to increase my speed a little bit. I'm walking too slow. My brain can't keep up. But I realized this just recently within the last year, that because I was the type of person that had it set in my mind, I had this belief that I didn't like to read books. I don't know where it came from, how that originated, but I was deep set in this. Like, I'm intelligent. I know things. Why do I need to read? I don't have time for that. It's boring. Whatever that was. But within this last year, I realized, okay, if I want to get to the levels that I want to get to, and be in a position that is comfortable and makes me feel like I've reached a higher success, then I have to be able to ingest the things that will get me there. And that comes through reading. And reading can be different for everybody. Some people do better with audiobooks. Some people do better with paperback. I go back and forth. I'd much rather listen to the audio just because I can do things like walk on the treadmill or work and have it playing. But I do know sometimes too that my attention kind of goes off into the distance, and I have to rewind the chapter a few times. Anybody relate to that? Right? But there's certain times that I'll sit down and physically read. But I like to pull things up on my phone, on my computer, and read those. Like, I'm always trying and watching videos. This is a huge thing. Just like you're watching this video right now and you're learning, see, you're on the right step. You're on the right path. I do the same thing. I pick 3 people that I want to be like, influences that I want to model what they do. And I watch their content. I watch their videos. I see how they go about things. I watch their mannerisms. And so I'm learning. I'm learning to grow and be like the person I want to be based upon how other people are acting in the positions that I want to be in. If that makes sense. So it's always learning, growing. You can't expect to just go through every day not trying something new, doing something new, and expect things to be different. change takes effort, change takes time, change takes knowledge. And the third one there is that's the key. Change takes knowledge. Because how are you going to go to a new level when you don't know anything about that level? How are you going to help somebody through a situation if you haven't learned how to go through that situation yourself? And that's a whole nother thing I can get into, but what I'm talking about is you have to be able to grow to show. Let's say that again. You have to be able to grow to show that you are on the right path, to show that you are an influence in the area that you're in. Anybody can just show up and start spewing awesome things and try to act intelligent. But when it comes down to it, you'll know if they're educated on what they're talking about or not, because it'll all come out in how they conduct themselves, through their speech, through their actions, And if that's what you want to do for yourself in the area that you're in, whether that's business, whether that's whatever it might be, you have to take the opportunities to grow. You have to bring in the knowledge. You have to watch other people in the same positions that you want to be in. And when you start doing that, it might seem tedious at first. It might seem like you're in over your head. And that's okay, because change isn't easy. It's work. I'll just put it that way. It's just work. But when you put in the work, like my man Myron Golden says, work works. It'll pay off. It may take a little bit of time. And I know that's kind of hard for some people, especially in this day and age when we live in a world that is just everything's at your fingertips. I've talked about this before. But if you stay engaged, and you will find when you start to learn things and you start to implement those things that you're learning, you feel different. You feel like you've achieved more. And that's a good feeling. That's a feeling worth having. Just like when you're working out, when you're in the gym, you're working out, the first few weeks, they're hard. You question yourself, wow, is this really worth it? Is this what I want to do? Is this how is this soreness ever going to go away? Right? But you stick with it. And then after the first month, you're feeling better. Then the second month rolls around, you start seeing progress. You start seeing changes in your body. Third month, you start feeling stronger and more confident, and it builds. And you keep going, and it builds, and it builds, and it builds. And then pretty soon you get to a point where I feel good. This is who I am. You build that identity. You're building yourself into who you want to be. But it comes through action. It comes through learning. Like in the gym, I'm going to use this representation again. You don't go in just knowing everything, how every muscle group works, how every, fiber of your body is designed. No, but as you go about it, you think you got a day coming up that's chest. And so you're like, hey, I wonder how I could optimize my chest workout. So you start looking up things. You look things up online. You talk to other people, figure out what works for them. And then you start to implement those things. That's what you're doing. You're learning, you're growing. So it's not a huge task. It's not something that's just out of the normal that you got to implement in your life that is unknown. No, we learn and we grow every single day. What we have to do though is we just have to channel it. You have to channel it into what works for you, what moves the needle in your life to get you to where you want to be. And that's the important part. See, we take in information constantly from all different avenues. I was just listening to Alex Hormozi, one of his videos this morning. He's one of the people I listen to. And he was talking about that, how you delegate your time is really going to matter, and how you prepare yourself for what you're doing. If you're preparing yourself for something that's not really going to get you moving in the direction you want to go, then you're wasting your time. Yes, you're learning, but you're learning for the wrong purpose. And so it's really key to try to narrow that down into, okay, where do I want to go? Who do I want to be? And then how can I grow that way? How can I move the needle that way? What book can I read that will get me in that position? And that's the key factor to it. So, like I said, we learn every day, but what we learn and how we learn it and what we're going to apply it to is super crucial. So, are you moving forward? Are you putting in the right steps towards where you want to be? I do. I challenge you to really think about that. Think about the things that you're doing throughout your day that are moving you in the direction you want to go. Are you implementing things? Are you learning on purpose for that specific thing? And once you start to really analyze this and see where you're at, you can then start to implement. And I promise you, when you start to implement, when you start to do these things, when you start to take those steps, it gets better. It gets more confidence within you. It gives you the ability to become something different. You know, everything in life wrapped around success comes from knowledge. It comes from learning. It comes from growing. So don't ever think that you can't do anything. Don't ever think that it's beyond your reach. Don't ever think that you don't have what it takes inside of you, because you do. All you have to do is you just have to be willing to learn. You have to be willing to grow. You have to be willing to implement these things into your life. And you can do just about anything. You know, if I can walk out of 18 years of addiction, a stigma of being a felon, and change my life around one step at a time, then I know anybody can. It's possible. You know, I've gone from the trenches, you know, alleyways, strung out on God knows what, you know, not nowhere in life, not going anywhere in life at all, homeless, to owning a successful business, being a predominant leader in some of the areas of my life. You know, there's real change. And what happened is I learned how to be different. And a lot of the times too, learning how to be different is learning how to get rid of the stuff that holds you back. Those false beliefs that you've held on to, that false identity you've seen yourself in. And you know, I'm going to talk about this a lot more, and I always will. It's going to be a hot topic for as long as I live, because it's such a crucial one, and that's identity, like who you are. Because I think a lot of the times we don't allow ourselves to grow because we're limited on this identity of who we think we are based upon what's happened behind us. And you can't do that. So identity has to be in line with who we want to be. So you want to be successful, then you have to tell yourself, I am successful. I'm going to be successful. And then once you get that into your mind and you get that belief rolling, then you start implementing the things to do that. And then it's just a snowball effect, and things change and things become better. If you look at all these people out there that are just killing it, you know, Alex Hormozi, he's killing it. Myron Golden, he's killing it. All of them are going to say the same exact thing. They learn daily. They're always taking in new information and always growing. You've never arrived. When it comes to knowledge, you've never arrived. You're always growing. Don't get caught in the mindset that you know enough to get by. Because when you just know enough to get by, you get nowhere. So I'm going to leave you with that. Go read some books. Go do some exercises. Go watch some videos of people that inspire you. Start soaking these things in. But more importantly, think about where you want to go, who you want to be, and start channeling it toward that and see what happens. All right, guys, time to get off to the day. If you like what you've been hearing and you want to stay engaged more, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell for notifications to let you know when new content comes out. And share this with people, because like I just said, knowledge is power. People need to know, they need to grow. And so I want to help you, and I want to help others do that. And you can help me help others. So let's do this together. And you guys have a blessed day, and I'll talk to you soon.